Good morning. Excellent. Good morning and welcome to the service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My name is Brenda Lunt, and I am the worship associate for this morning. Our settled minister, Reverend Bethany Russell Lowell, is away on sabbatical this month. She will return to the pulpit on Sunday, September 3rd. We have been missing her, but we'll be excited to have her back with us. Today we have a special guest who's our speaker, a dynamic and heartfelt speaker, as well as my good friend, PJ Dixon. Our community is as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Whoever you are, whoever you have been, and whoever you are becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self here now. Our requirement to wear masks in worship and concurrent religious education has lifted. You are, of course, still welcome to wear a mask, but it is not required. If you are feeling sick, we encourage you to wear a mask or to join us from home. If you are joining us for in-person activities, we hope that you are vaccinated, as you can be. I extend a special welcome to visitors and invite you to fill out a guest information card. If you're joining us online, that guest information card will be posted in the YouTube chat right now. There are also clipboards with yellow paper that you can fill out if you are here in person. They're in the Welcome Center in the back corner of the room, and we invite you to go and explore that after the service this morning. We have a couple of announcements. The last time I led worship in this space, it was our first time in this space, so forgive me if most of you know this better than me because you've been here all summer. But in this building, the restrooms are right through this door. You go down the hall and make your first left. There's 2 restrooms there that people are welcome to use. There are additional restrooms out the back door and in the courtyard. But due to the construction, there's no water in Holland, so we're not using any facilities in the big sanctuary at this time. On the other note is that the Holland Hall has got tons of construction going on. I know it looks very peaceful today, but it is very dangerous over there, and they ask that people not go exploring and to check things out as desperately as you want to. If you have an interest in touring the site manager will give us that opportunity, but you need to reach out to our facilities team and schedule that in advance. Today we begin with the sacred practice of welcome. In a minute, when I say go, that teacher energy all the time, I'm going to ask you to greet a neighbor. Be sure to introduce yourself and ask them, what is the thing that makes you feel most resilient? If you're online, we welcome you to light up the chat with your answer to these questions. Go. I love hearing all these wonderful conversations. I love seeing all your smiling faces first thing on a Sunday morning. But I'm going to ask you to take a pause and continue these conversations after service during coffee hour. And now we're going to go into some contemplation with our prelude music. words for Call to Worship is a piece called Grace Meets Us Where We Are by Gretchen Haley. She writes, "There is nothing you need to bring with you to be welcome here. No right beliefs or proof of citizenship. No eternal optimism or clarity of conviction. No boundless courage or endless expertise. You do not need to know what brought you here or how you will solve that problem you are turning over and over and over in your mind. Your bills do not need to be paid. Your checkbook can be a mess. Your children may have been up half the night. Your hearing aids may not be working, and your knees may be creaking. You do not need to be already perfect or even halfway to belong in the circle where grace meets us where we are and does not leave us as it found us. Where love resides in each of us, yet is somehow more than all, where life still pulses and rages and heals and transforms, creating us and this day anew once again. Come, let us worship together." All right, we're going to get Jody up here to light our chalice. Oh, wait, did I miss a step? Are you doing a song first?
No, I was going to light the chalice because I was afraid that Jody wasn't going to be there.
Brian, there we go. As Jody lights her chalice, please join me in these words of chalice lighting from Eric Heller Wagner.
Okay, except I'm deficient because I can't light this. What do you do? I'm not a smoker. Ah. I will now light the chalice.
Okay, all together. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life.
And apologies for not realizing that everything was planned and was going to happen smoothly if I didn't step on it. Would you please rise as you are able and sing "For All That Is Our Life" in body or spirit? For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build our common good and make our own days glad. For each other serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. To all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For all that is
by Susan Verde. When there are challenges in front of me, when I feel unstable, like I might fall, and I think about turning back or giving up, when my mind tells me I can't, I look inside myself and find the strength that lives deep down, and I tell my mind, yes, I can. I have faith in what's possible. I accept the challenge and keep on going. I move ahead one breath at a time. I act with bravery. I am courage. I can trust what my gut is telling me. I believe in myself. I can feel scared but still carry on. I persevere. I can tumble and still get up again. I am resilient. I can lean on those around me. I am not afraid to ask for support. I can encourage another when there is doubt. I am uplifting. I can know there is no shame in sharing. I tell my story. I can step in when others are struggling. I know how to help. I can be the one to clear the way for someone else. I am an example. When I feel uncertain and start to lose my balance, I find my center and gather my strength. I know what I am. I am courage. And I can keep going. We can all keep going. We are strong. We are capable. We are important. We are courage. And we are triumphant.
Our earth is strong. It can hold our pain and our joy, our love and our anger. Our shared bowl, which we use for joys and sorrows each week, is strong enough to hold the big rocks, which represent our collective celebrations and mournings, and also the smaller stones that will be added to signify our individual joys and sorrows. Let us remember those desert people who came first in this place. We honor the Hohokam, the Yavapai, the Tono Otham, the Yaqui, and the people who no longer exist as tribal entities here in Arizona. We who live in the desert know that water is a life-sustaining and scarce resource. Let's remember those who are walking through our desert right now without access to water. We pour water from a plastic jug, similar to the ones used by those seeking to assure greater access to water in the desert, like our ministry partners, No More Deaths. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, I invite you to go to menti.com and put in the code 6696536. If any of you here in the sanctuary wish to put your thoughts up on Menti, Brian Moon can help you with that, if your phone isn't working for whatever reason. If you are here in person, you're welcome to come up to this table and put a stone in the water to symbolize your joy or sorrow. The pebbles create ripples of hope. Remember that in this space, the flow is that people who would like to put stones come up through the middle and return to their seats around the outside to avoid any traffic jams. Today, I would like to especially remember those who are without power. We have several congregants who are not here today because they are dealing with the lack of power in their homes and the safety of their animals and their families. And so with the crazy thunderstorms this week, that is the joy and sorrow I want to hold up at this time. All right, so let us listen to the beautiful music as we have the opportunity to participate in this ritual. All right, it looks like we only had 2 submissions for Joys and Sorrows Online today. One says, grateful for safe travels and return of many of our congregants. And the other says, excited and nervous for the start of school this week. That one was mine. Please join me for a moment of silence for all the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken at this time. This is called Prayer for Resilience by Douglas Taylor. He writes, gracious and loving God, from whom all things come and to whom all things return, we gather on the edge of another week, and for some of us, the edge of our strength. We come buoyed by events of our week or weighed down by them. We arrive in some paradoxical mix thereof. We are here in our Sunday assembly of hope and restoration. At times we come weary and wore down, and for some, that is how we arrive today. At other times, we come with questions, with a longing, or with something to offer. But for those who come today shattered, broken, lonely, and lost, let us offer our prayer of resilience. Again, this week we test the tender places in our hearts and our lives to see what healing may occur. Gratitude is often a source of healing. We give thanks for the landscapes of grace in our lives, for music and for good companions, for the guidance of great principles and the examples of integrity all around us. We give thanks for all that lifts us up and for lessons that lead us on. For the times when we are brought low by anxiety or adversity, show us the hidden wells of love we can tap into. Help us rise up once more, just once more, and once more again will surely be enough. Remind us that we do not strive in vain, that we are part of a chorus, that resilience is in our bones, that peace will prevail on earth, and that healing and grace come like soft rain. And thou, an ever-present strength upon our journeys, and teach us in the falling down, we do rise again. This we ask in the name of all that is holy. May it be so.
Be good to you, take care of you, shake loose of those self-help blues. Got a lot of living to do, so don't be giving up on you. Sometime the stars and the moon gonna play a trick on you, but I will try to believe what you tell me, and I will try to be true to myself, 'cause I'm as free as I ever will be. So don't be trying so hard, and don't be feeling discarded. Just feel that love surround, 'cause there's a whole lot there, there's a whole lot waiting to be shared. There's still enough to go around, and I will try to believe what you tell me, I begin? Is there God within? Sometimes I'm not so sure. So won't you teach to me? Just keep it simple, please. Won't you help a friend who's feeling low? Just help a friend who's feeling low. And be good to you. Take care of you.
Kristen Collin writes, "We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that, together, we have enough." Now, an offering will be collected to support the life and work of our congregation. If you are joining us on live stream, you can send a check to the church office, give online at uuctucson.org/donate, or text 833-361-5796. If you are here in person, the ushers will come around with the offering baskets to collect your donations. Today, instead of just listening to some beautiful music while the offering is collected, we're going to sing a hymn, and Brian's going to lead us in hymn 402.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
This reading is called Meditation on Opposites by Alex Capitan. They write, "Spirit of the universe, life force that flows through all beings, power beyond our knowing, we ask you to help us see beyond our dependence on opposites, to transcend our desire to know who is like us and who is not. Open us to the knowledge that in this room there are complexities and diversities of identities beyond black and white, old and young, woman and man, rich and poor, uneducated and educated, disabled and able-bodied, gay and straight, ill and healthy, wrong and right, broken and whole. In this room, there are people who embody juxtaposition, who can tell stories written on their bodies about both and neither, who carry intimate pieces of the truth that there is no such thing as opposites. Spirit of many names and of no name at all, help us find release from our belief that all things must be either or. This belief that walls us off from one another, ensnaring us in a battle of same versus different. Help us to open our minds to deeply listen and to truly know one another, finally glimpsing the kaleidoscopic beauty of the divine."
morning. It's good to see all of you again. I recognize some of your beautiful faces, so I'm sorry I'm not taller, so the people in the back can see me. I'll move around a little bit. So, in the Cherokee tradition, first man and first woman met and fell in love, and they lived happily together, and it was beautiful. And as sometimes occurs with people that love each other, they occasionally find disagreement. Well, this one particular morning, they found a little bit of a disagreement. And sadly, it was a disagreement that they felt they couldn't resolve. And so in that process, first woman got a little upset, as she sometimes does, right? And she got upset enough that she didn't even want to be in the same room with first man because she couldn't stand to look at his face. Because it just made her angry, as some of you might understand. And so with her attachment and her holding fast to her perspective, coupled with her superpower of resistance and resilience, she said, peace out. She said, I'm leaving. And she turned and walked towards the sun, leaving first man, who was, by the way, indignant and attached to his perspective, and let her leave. And when she left, she walked with that resilience and that resistance, right? And that intention to go towards the sun, where there was light, there was understanding, there was clarity. And at some point, first man realized, as he had time to think and reflect, maybe I was a little bit wrong. And maybe we, together, collectively, she and I can fix this and we can resolve this. So first man jumped up and he chased after first woman. But first woman had a head start on him, and she was pretty far along. And first man ran as fast as he could, but he ran until he got tired and he couldn't catch up with first woman because she had quite the head start. And so he just sat down, and with his heart full of sadness and sorrow and a sense of loss, he realized that he couldn't do this alone and that he needed help. But the problem was he was first man. He had no community. He had no friends. He had no support. So instead, first man dropped to his knees and he began to pray. See, there's always support. Even in the moments when we feel like we're lost and times are rough and difficult. When we let go of dependence upon ourselves, when we rest our dependence on something greater than us, the presence with a capital P, as I like to refer to it. He prayed and he said, Creator, please, I realize my mistake and I would like to catch up with first woman. Can you help me? And Creator saw his sorrowfulness and his honesty and his truth and the intent of his heart. And Creator said, I will help you. Go now and make things right. And so with having that opportunity to have rested, because rest brings back that vigor, that life force, that resilience, he popped up in that newfound commitment. He ran off as fast as his little legs could take him until he finally got to where first woman was, or on his way to first woman. But what he didn't realize was that God really was going to help him. That Creator really was going to help. And so Creator, knowing the heart of a woman, started to blossom all these beautiful flowers and all these beautiful plants. And the plants also blossomed delicious fruits. And she slowed down because she began to appreciate the beauty around her. And in that process of appreciating that beauty, she also forgot her anger. And she started to get lost in the beauty of the flowers and the fragrance of the flowers. And she started to become curious and started to taste all the delicious different fruits. And there was this one bright red, heart-shaped fruit that she'd never seen before, the first strawberry. And she reached out for it and she plucked it. And she looked at it and she touched it and she felt it, and there became this connection between her and this heart-shaped fruit. And she took a bite of it. That is juicy and delicious and super sweet. And immediately the deliciousness poured not just into her tummy, but it had to go past her heart first. And as it touched her heart, she remembered the sweetness of the love that she had for first man. And she thought instantly to turn around and give him a bite. And she realized she was alone too. And she was saddened. First man wasn't there. And so in her exhaustion also, she sat and she nurtured herself. She rested and she ate of the fruits. And then she realized in that process what was most important to her, the love that she had for first man. And so she jumped up and started to collect some strawberries. And just as she had her bundle and her harvest ready, she turned around ready to take it back to first man. And there first man stood, waiting for her, ready to share his love, his respect, his appreciation. And as often these mythologies or these stories end, they end beautifully, right? So in that moment, they reconcile their misunderstanding and they return to the happiness and the love that they had with and for each other, because they realized what was most important was in the heart, right? And so what we want to think about when we think about resilience is this idea that resilience is not this effort. Because sometimes when we think about resilience, we think about how much effort I have to put in. How much struggle am I going to have to use? It's going to be tiring and exhausting. I have to just keep going and pushing despite the struggle, despite the effort, despite the need for strength. But instead, when we let go of that and we allow our focus to be on the commitment, commitment gives birth to resilience. If you focus on resilience, you will likely struggle. And the problem is that creates resistance. And resistance is maybe an opposing force to resilience, or maybe a supporting force. Because think about this. If there's something in your life that you are absolutely standing against, you don't believe it, you don't agree with it, you're not going to accept it, you're going to stand against it, you're not going to back down, that makes you resilient. So are you resistant or are you resilient? Are you resilient or are you just being difficult? And some people might call it resistant. It depends on the intention. And what is your intention? What is your intention with your life? What is your intention with your relationships? What is your intention with your connections to the community, to your Creator, to your family, to your friends, to your own heart, your own soul? You're still very much alive. The question is, how do you want to live that life? With resilience or in resistance? Resistance also creates an obstacle and a hurdle. But maybe they're the same. I'm sure all of you have heard of Nelson Mandela, one of my great heroes. Yes, Nelson Mandela, one of my great heroes. And so when I think of Nelson Mandela, I think of 1962 when he was captured for sabotage and other crimes against his state, for speaking out against injustice and inequality. He wanted freedom for all people. And he stood up, he resisted, he stood up against the forces that be to say, no, this is not okay any longer. And I'm willing to take the discipline that you feel is important to put upon me. I will carry that. I will be resilient enough to carry that. And in 1963, they gave him a life sentence. A life sentence in Robben Island maximum security penitentiary. Harsh, brutal environment where every day he was forced to work in a quarry, a limestone quarry. And he had a very small cell that was just filled with straw and hay that he had to sleep on, and a bucket that was his potty, his toilet. And once a year, he was allowed a 30-minute visit. And twice a year, he was allowed a single letter to come in to him or to go out to him, from him. And yet, his commitment to resilience, his commitment to freedom, his commitment to equality, his commitment to justice, his commitment, his heart, what he believed in was so powerful and so dynamic that the world aligned behind him. That 27 years after being isolated, 27 years after experiencing brutal hardship in the prison, when he got out, only 4 years later, he became the first black president of his state of South Africa. This is important because it says resilience does things. I always say that change is inevitable. Transformation is a choice. Change is inevitable. You're going to change whether you like it or not. I don't look like I did when I was 25. I wish I did, but I don't. Change is inevitable, but transformation is a choice. You can succumb to the changes of life. You can succumb to the changes in your community. You can succumb to or give into the changes in your relationship. Or you can say, this is what I want to create. And if you are made in the image of God, then you by default are also a creator, a powerful creator. Who do you want to be? How do you want to create your relationship? What do you want it to look like? What do you want your relationship with your community to be? What is the effort that you're willing to put in? The energy, the intention, the commitment. What are you committed to right now? Who are you committed to? When we look at the word resilience or resistance, we look at because if we think about Nelson Mandela, was he resistant or was he resilient? Or was he both? He was both, and he was a beacon of light for all of the world, not just for the people in South Africa. All of the world to look to this man and say, thank you for your resilience. The word resistance, if we look at the root of that, it's the word resist. And if we look at the root of that, coming back from Latin, it means to hold back, stop, or to stand. So if I'm in resistance, I plant my feet solidly on the ground like we see children do sometimes. No. And they refuse, they're resistant, right? They're resilient in their resistance. So we can think about that as what is important enough to me to say no to something else. What are you willing to let go of? I don't believe in sacrifice. I believe in a willing exchange of something that you might want for something that you want more of. And so, what are you willing to say no to? Who are you willing to say no to? Even within yourself, what's going on in your own head? What's going on in your own life? What are you thinking about yourself? How do you feel about yourself? What do you say about yourself? If there are things that you beat yourself up about, if there are ways that you're judging yourself, can you be resistant and say, no, I'm taking a stand right here. That's not acceptable anymore. Creator would not say that about me. Why is it okay for me to say that about me? What if instead I become resilient or committed to forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others? What if I recognize that every action that somebody does is because in their mind they see it as right or okay? Is there a way for us to step back instead of looking at the problem and look at the options and the possibilities? If I'm hiking with you and a boulder rolls off the cliff and lands right in our path, I can stand there with you looking at the boulder and say, there's a boulder in our path, what are we going to do? And you can say, yeah, I see it. I know, it's big, huh? You're like, yes, it's very big. And I'm like, I can't see anything but the boulder. How are we going to get past this? And you say, well, little man, how about we just step back away from the problem? When we step back away from the problem, now all of a sudden I can see some options and some opportunities. See, resilience isn't about having the power or the strength to continue to push on when life gets difficult. It's about letting go of the things that are making it difficult so you can move forward in the way that you want. There are always options. And as long as you don't have to fight, that rest will allow you the opportunity to go further and longer. Resilience in my world has a part A definition and a part B definition. Part A says, in my world, Resilience is the relentless drive towards something you believe in and you want despite the adversity. Part 2, though, is really important. Nobody ever thinks about this. Resilience is not just having the relentless drive towards something you want despite the adversity. It's also maintaining a particular emotional state and a position of power. A position of power in a particular emotional state when I'm pushing, when I'm striving, when I'm climbing, when I'm trying. I can be upset and angry and sad about it, and sometimes we're going to break. I had tears just the other day, right? And then after you get through your tears, you go, okay, I'm bigger than the problem. I was looking at the problem, not my options. So you want to maintain a particular emotional state, and then on top of that emotional state, you want to make sure that you maintain a position of power, because when you have a position of power, you have authority. And I don't mean power over someone else. I mean power over self, power over the mind, power of spirit, not power over spirit, power of spirit. When you're bigger than the problem, and you look and you say, we can do this. We can do this. There's a great story. And how much time do I have? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm a talker. She said 20 minutes. She knew it was probably going to be an hour. But I'll be quick. So there's one of my favorite stories is a Buddhist nun. One of my favorite English-born Buddhist nuns was asked to create this massive event for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And she had to bring in monks and nuns from all over the world. She had to get security for His Holiness the Dalai Lama while he was in country. She had to make sure that they had all the tickets and the setting and all the people and the food and the hotels and all this stuff. Made sure that all the moving parts were good. And at the end of it, after she finally finished the last contract, and after she saw the last person on the plane, and after they wrapped up and cleaned up the venue, and after all the security was gone, she finally just flopped down on a big chair next to one of my other favorite Buddhist nuns. And she was a much older Buddhist nun. And the younger Buddhist nun said, "Oh, I can't believe I did it." And the older Buddhist nun said, "Yes, dear, but how did you do it? We can do it with resistance, or we can do it with resilience. We can do it with passion and excitement and belief and feeling bigger than the problem, or we can do it kicking and screaming through our tears and digging with our fingers and our claws through that rock, or we can just step back and go, oh, there are other options. I think I'm going to take this one. It seems a lot quicker and easier." That allows for rest because you're not pushing so much effort. There was back in the early 1800s, early to mid 1800s, when the British Empire overcame or was conquesting into Africa. There was an explorer, and you know the type. He's got the khaki shorts on, the khaki short sleeve shirt. He's got the big khaki wide brim little hat, and he's out there, and he's got all of his tribesmen following him and carrying all of his junk, like globes and telescopes and magnifying glasses and pots and pans and all, maps and all this stuff. And so one morning he wakes up and he walks to the tribal leader and he says, "Okay, this morning, get everything packed up. I want to be up on that summit by nightfall." And just turns and walks away because, these people work for him and he didn't need to sit around. It wasn't a conversation. Pack up the stuff. Let's go. And so he went back and he's looking at his maps and taking some notes about the plan for the day. And he looks over and he realizes they haven't moved. They haven't done anything. So he goes back and he says, hey, what are you doing? Let's go. I want to be on that summit by nightfall. Let's go. We've got to make sure that we've got to make sure that man down. Thanks, Brian. Saved by the day. Thank you. I love it, Brian. Thanks. I won't move around. I'll be like this. So he looks back, and the tribesmen aren't doing anything. And he says, hey, what are you doing? We've got to get packed up, and we've got to be on that summit by nightfall. And the leader of the tribesmen says, "We don't go today. And he goes, what do you mean we don't go today? I'm the boss. I employ you. We go today. I say we go today. We go today. And the tribesman goes, we don't go today. And the explorer says, no, we do go today. I say we go today. I am here. I employ you. We go today. Get everything packed. Let's go. We don't go today. And the Britishman, if you could call him a Britishman, right? The man from Britain, takes a breath, remembers his class and his station, and he says, okay, what do you mean we don't go today? And he said, we don't go today. And he says, I understand. Why don't we go today? And the tribesman says, today, we let our spirits catch up. Today, we let our spirits catch up. Rest is not something that's an option. Rest is a requirement. Okay? The army realized that when they let their men, their troops, rest for 10 minutes every hour, they could march longer and they would be in better condition. Winston Churchill would stay in bed in his 60s and 70s during running World War II, and he would work until it was 11 a.m. He would get out of bed, get ready, have lunch, take a nap right after lunch. He'd work until just in the early evening, take another 2-hour nap, and then he would get up, have dinner at 8, and then he would be back out and working until after midnight. He could work for 16-hour days. Why? The magic of rest. A Harvard doctor one time, and I have not been able to find additional support for this, so don't quote me on it, said that he calculated the amount of time the heart rests between beats as being 15 hours out of 24. Your heart theoretically, don't quote me on this, theoretically works for 9 hours a day. In 15 hours it rests. John D. Rockefeller would sleep for half an hour every day at noon, and he wouldn't allow anyone to interrupt him. Why? Because rest is critical. Rest isn't just critical, rest is repair. Eleanor Roosevelt would sit for 20 minutes in a chair before addressing a large audience or before speaking, right? Edison would sleep whenever he felt like sleeping. Henry Ford said this. When Henry Ford was interviewed at almost 80 by Dale Carnegie said, Henry, how is it that you have so much energy? Henry said, son, I never stand when I can sit, and I never sit down when I can lay down. Rest is critical. The more we actually rest before we are tired, the longer we live. Think about rest as the opportunity of investment. You're investing in your future. If you like and love life as much as I do, and you want to live as long as you can, rest before you're tired, so you can continue to live before you're retired. I want to leave you with just a quick thought. Winston Churchill also said, success is not final, and failure is not fatal. One must have the courage to keep going, even when times are tough. And samurai used to say, get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. How do you do that? Knock down once, I get up once. Knock down twice, I get up twice. 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. How do I get up? How do I get up 8 times if I get knocked down 7? Some people will have a dream and they'll never start. If that dream is something as simple as repairing a relationship, or coming back into service in your community, or jumping out of a plane, or writing your first book, or your 20th book. Some people won't even get started. It's those people who are willing to get started that change everything. Because when you get knocked down and everybody else gets knocked down, they're getting up the first time. You're getting up your second time. Nothing is scarier than a person who refuses to stay down. Be resilient. But remember, rest so you're not experiencing resistance, but but instead, you're demonstrating and living with the resilience that is natural in you. Thank you for letting me come to visit today.
Our last song today is one that many of you in the congregation have heard or may know, but it is also one that is not written down, so you gotta catch it as you can. If you will rise in body or spirit, the words will be on the words, one word changes per verse, and hopefully by the second verse you'll get the melody well enough and you'll be able to catch it. The word that changes is in big letters. One morning I woke up and I knew what to do. I'd catch all the stones that everyone threw. I'd catch all the sorrow that I could in a day. Then I'd take all the stones and I'd throw them away. Don't ask why, say we must all be free. Don't ask when, say you can count on me. One morning I woke up and I knew what to do. I'd catch all the stones that everyone threw. I'd catch all the anger that I could in a day. Then I'd take all the stones and I'd throw them away. Don't ask why, say we must all be free. Don't ask when, say you can count on me. One morning I woke up and I knew what to do. I'd catch all the stones that everyone threw. I'd catch the injustice that I could in a day. Then I'd take all the stones and I'd throw them away. Don't ask why, say we must all be free. Don't ask when, say you can count on me. Repeat that last one. Don't ask why, say we must all be free. Don't ask when, say you can count on me. Thank you.
Please join us as we extinguish the chalice with these words from Reverend Maddie Stephantis. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. All right, that concludes our service. So good to see everybody today. Jesus is on vacation, our custodian, so we would very much appreciate your help. Putting some chairs away and getting some tables out. Brian's going to help us direct that effort because he has an idea where everything goes. But if you, we're going to have coffee hour after the service. Margot and our kitchen ministry are opening our kitchen doors over there so we can get that started. But please feel free to stay and be in fellowship with us for the next hour or so.
looked like I was there for the plan, and then you had it all well in the end.